These are what we would call arcs of human tribal process and the desire for more. These are two global drives that have brought us to the precipice as a species. In the past, ego identity process and narcissism and tribal dynamics of learning and tribal learning disabilities and tribal stresses could be supported by our planet. We could war, we could kill each other, we could eat up the environment when there weren't that many of us. And then we increased our population. And our desire for ego gratification and drives and taproot feeding and fear of missing out drove us mercilessly to gobble up more of the world faster. And that has generated a dynamic globally of what could be looked at as technologically magnified toxic narcissism and ego process and all the associated stresses and energetic and emotional and chemical toxic waste within individuals and in nations and as a collective species by a taproot feeding, fulfillment of ego desire, and associated negative emotional dynamics. The planet cannot take that anymore. When there were only a few of us, the planet could absorb the punches. This process has turned the punches into atomic bombs, and the punches into giant islands of plastic in the ocean, and the punches into polluting groundwater and clear-cutting forests and giant cities that produce massive waste. So each of these dynamics, these two arcs magnifies the other. On the left side, we've got the ego process. On the right side, we've got the competitive dynamic of human beings, one pitting themselves against another in order to make more money, in order to have more power, and in order to have safety, in order to get what we want. We've been willing to clear cut and mow down anything and everything, including each other. So in the past, this competitive dynamic, which is the same for all other species, buffaloes or goats, billy goats, they butt heads, they compete. Males and females. Males compete for females, and females of the species compete with each other. We have magnified this competitive dynamic, are seeking for more and more and more competitively, and we've technologized it so much that the world can no longer tolerate the magnified dynamic of the vast population operating from competitive dynamics, competing for money, power, status, attention, sex, control, ego gratification, sensory gratification. The world can no longer tolerate it. And that has generated emotional and resource stresses. We've gobbled up all the resources, both nationally and individually. And it's generated deadly competition with our ecosystem. We have turned to vicious, ruthless battle with the natural world as our solution to getting more, having safety, and having ego gratification. Currently, our current mechanisms and models of species learning and collaboration are inadequate. The map, we can map these two arcs to male and female personal and tribal success drives and models. I'm not a man if I don't make enough money. I'm not a woman if I'm not a good mother and have kids. Those are wonderful things in the past, and we must learn to consciously make choices differently than we have in the past if we don't want to overpopulate and overconsume. The last item on this list, the specific process of attaining the critical mass of understanding that leads to global catalytic human species shifts in consciousness and ways of doing things. Gotta change. We can change it.